I follow the state of the California current ecosystem reports that are produced by NOAA's Integrated Ecosystem IEA Integrated Ecosystem Assessment.
Group,
Yes, I was trying to think. Well, what does A stand for? I couldn't. Yeah, and they're quite good. They're a great way of giving us sort of a status of what has happened with the ecosystem along the West Coast from Washington all the way down to California, which is within what we call the California Current Large Marine Ecosystem. It is larger than that. It actually goes up to Canada and down to Baja, Mexico. But these reports are developed to help the Pacific Fishery Management Council make decisions regarding the fisheries that we have off of those 3 states. And the National Marine Sanctuaries use those reports as well, because we use them to do what we call our condition reports. And we try and use the same indicators of ecosystem status that are used by the IEA team, the Integrated Ecosystem Assessment team, so that we're comparing the same, apples to apples. The only thing that we find is that the assessment, because it's done on a really large scale, some of the findings are not really scaled to a smaller space as a sanctuary. So the spatial scales are mismatched. But otherwise, they've been amazing reports.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity this year to be one of the participants for Olympic Coast's sanctuary assessment.
Oh, right. So
yeah, really fascinating and a privilege to be involved.
Yeah, so you're helping them with their condition report.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. So they are the first sanctuary that started using the IEA indicators and working with the IEA team was Monterey Bay. And then Channel Islands took over and really sort of took it to another level. And now I think Olympic Coast is following a lot of what Channel Islands did. And you might have been working with Jennifer Brown. Is Jen Brown involved with that?
Yep, Jennifer Brown's been involved.
Yeah, she's been sort of the one who, she's our IEA liaison from sanctuaries. Ooh, that's a lot coming down there.
I think that is the ROV just encountered one of those ctenophores, or those
shredded siphonophores.
Siphonophores.
So we shredded it, or it's called the shredded siphonophore?
I think we might have interfered with it a bit.
Okay, thank you. I was like, well, maybe. So with the siphonophore, what we saw was that the red central band, and then all the bells that came off is what we were seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what we were seeing. The kind of that long, thicker cluster of individuals, and then the smaller kind of feeding tentacle polyps trailing behind. That one was a very strikingly red color. I'm used to seeing the more clear ones or the brown ones, not quite that bright crimson.
Yeah, I've never seen one that color. So a lot of them, or some of them might be red because at these depths, a light does not penetrate as well. So being red, or the only light that does penetrate is of the wavelength, the red wavelength. I can never get this right. So
The
they
blue and
actually
green.
the blue and green penetrate the furthest.
Yep.
Okay, and so if you're red, you sort of disappear.
Yeah, you kind of fade into the background.
Okay. Thank you.
There's a couple of deep sea fish that actually have like red bioluminescence, and they suspect it's because that light, they can see it, and they use it as like an invisible light source to hunt other things.
Clever. Secret signaling in the deep.
It's a larvation house off in the distance there. Just saw it go by as a shadow.
So we have about another hour left of ascending to the surface. We're at 1,300 meters. Oh, and we might be in the oxygen minimum zone now because we're below 25.
Yeah, I just looked down. I don't have the micromoles up. I just have the percentage, but I noticed it had precipitously dropped down to 5.6 on the screen
Yeah,
that
we're
I'm
at
looking
20.
at.
Yeah, we're at 23.35. There was a ctenophore that just went by.
Yep.
Oh, it keeps on dropping the oxygen concentration.
When we were in the minimum zone on a couple of the previous dives, the percentage was all the way down at, like in the decimal points. So I think we've got a ways to go down, but I think we're definitely headed into that zone.
Do you know what creates the band? Is it I have no idea.
I think it's kind of a peak. Well, it's a combination of low oxygen water upwelling and then the high productivity at the surface being kind of consumed as it falls out. And that uses up the oxygen and leads to that band. And then I think once you get below it, you're into just a different water mass that's remained somewhat oxygenated. So it's going to be some combination of the optimal kind of temperature and conditions for enough metabolism that the bacteria can really chew up that first amount of marine snow, and that's what really takes the oxygen level down. And then once you get below that, you're still in the low oxygen conditions because it's just deep water. It's very old, so it's not as immediately reduced as that coastal layer.
Okay, and it's reduced by the animals, their respiration.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, there's a globally they have what we were called as the deep water conveyor belts, where most deep water formations starts off the coast of Greenland in the North Atlantic. This cold, highly saline water sinks to the bottom, and then starts on this kind of transport conveyor belt that carries it all the way through most of the global oceans. There's a couple points where it can kind of get replenished with oxygen, where there's other minor deep water formation areas, but the main one is the North Atlantic. And then the last place it ends up is actually off of the west coast in the Pacific. So the water we get here that's upwelled is very, very old. It sank years and years and years ago, and it slowly had all of its oxygen consumed to very low levels. But at the same time, it's built up this really nutrient-rich mass, and that's what upwells, and it's one of the things that drives the high productivity on this coast. There's another fish off in the distance just between the lasers. I was just thinking through the animals we saw in this dive and thinking that this might have been the first dive that we didn't see an octopus, and then I remembered we did see an octopus, the Dumbo octopus.
Yes, we did.
Grippatoothus.
I think that was my first Dumbo I've ever seen. That
Yeah,
was the first
me
Dumbo
too.
octopus I've seen.
That was very cool that we saw that. I think it'll make the highlight reel.
I hope so. I'll be looking for it.
Yeah. Yes. I think any time that you see a Dumbo octopus, it makes the highlight reel.
had a good Keating math there on the screen, I think. Just floating off. Starting to see a little bit of shift in the kind of critters the few critters we are seeing going by. I started to see those clear siphonophores. Seen 2 or 3 of them now. So I think we're getting into an area where we're going to be shifting into slightly different and possibly more fauna going by. So we're all the way up to 875 meters. And I just saw my first little midwater fish that may have been some sort of lanternfish or bristlemouth.
I was just chattering away with my microphone on mute. So sorry.
I have done that more than once.
We do that all the time up here in the van too.
But you have people around you saying, "Who are you talking to?"
Yeah, that's true.
My dog's just like, "Oh well, that's what she does all day." But I guess who's been doing our V-Link has held up this watch very well.
Yeah, I haven't had it drop once.
Yeah, so please relay that to your IT people that it isn't always a problem.
Will do. We made
I'm sure they
made some big progress on it last night. So
yeah. So tell them that it's working, because I know there's been a lot of like it didn't work and it dropped so many times. So I'm sure they'd be happy to hear some positive comments.
Sure.
That-
Well,
That will be Ben, our data engineer. And he's been strafing periodically throughout the shift to see how it's been working. So he already knows. He basically hacked all of our bandwidth down to not much. And so,
So what were you using that bandwidth for? What are you foregoing?
well, we still have plenty of bandwidth, but so technically we've come nowhere near close to our maximum bandwidth through the satellite. And then V-Link obviously has the priority. So there's the quality of service thing going on there. But he started talking in geek speak that was right over my head, but something about basically the analogy was even though you have all that bandwidth, the lane width for each of the data packets going up wasn't wide enough and they were colliding. So they're trying to get, yeah, packet sequencer. Anyways, by reducing all the devices aboard to 3 megabits per second max, it has improved the V-Link quality, which is still huge. Like on a regular boat, the whole boat has 3 megabits per second. We're happy when we have 5. So for each device to have
is that
that kind
upload
of
or
bandwidth,
download speed?
download. We're pretty spoiled out here in Nautilus with it's like being at home for the most part. We can't stream videos or music, but other than that, we can.
I've been out on some of the NOAA boats where it can be hard to get a PDF file.
Exactly. You're going to wait for half an hour for your email to load after that.
That's actually one of the advantages of being on night shift on those boats is most people are asleep, and so your bandwidth gets infinitely better.
Yes.
Oh, that was your the brilliance behind your plan. Because Meredith is the only person. We have quite a large science team that to sign up for the 2-person science watches, and Meredith was the only one who voluntarily selected the midnight to 4.
So just
Yep.
double checking, you guys want to do the, you want to do a Niskin at 700 still? Is that still our depth?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Not often you see that shiv wheel move around like that. Yeah.
You know, Meredith, and I've really enjoyed doing the watches with you. It hasn't been as hard as I thought it would be,
Back.
and I've learned a lot. You know, your expertise in
Likewise.
corals has been very beneficial.
I've enjoyed the shifts with you as well. Got a good partnership going for this watch.
Yeah, and it will continue, right?
Yep.
Because we still have the Channel Islands portion to go through. But we won't have to do our midnight to 4 shift tonight because that will be covered by the specialist from Liz Clark's team that they are studying the Petrali Sol spawning grounds. And then that'll be a short dive, which would cover our watch. So we get to luxuriate and sleep.
Mm-hmm.
We'll miss you guys.
Yeah,
you get
I'm
Abby
gonna
and
see.
Tom.
Yes, and that'll be fun too. I mean,
yeah,
you'll have a fish expert and a coral expert. No, sponge expert. Sorry.
Yeah, lots of flora and fauna on the shallow dives. Huh?
Mm-hmm. That'll be
Hopefully
lots
good
to look
visibility. That's always the trade-off. Sometimes it depends on that.
Setting ready for the countdown here.
Yeah, you doing the countdown, Steve?
7, 6, 5,
Craft is
4,
wiggling in anticipation.
3, 2, 1. Scan.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Can I see that utility page? I guess. Bridge nav. Is the current heading a good heading for recovery?
Straight.
Okay, if we can move forward at the current heading, 0.3 knots. Thank you.
Just had the first squid go by.
Got somebody breathing into a mic somewhere. Yeah, I was like, wait, that was, I was like, that's going the wrong way. Yeah. I was like, something's wrong.
You suddenly descending again there for a second?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you could see, comes in and out like that. The jet pump just sprays water out the back, and it can't go, it doesn't have as much forward power because it's not pushing against the water, it's pushing against air. But it's a better DBV computer though, so sometimes it can compensate for that and go for speed over ground. I'm streaming. I'm streaming. Yeah. It's in the blister, like right up here.
Just saw some sort of midwater fish go by.
Keep my eyes peeled on this. Ooh, there's something there.
Yeah, we're finally up into a zone where we're getting more kind of bigger things around the vehicle.
So it's 600 meters from the surface. Just triggered our Niskin at 700 meters.
There was definitely a fish. A lanternfish of some kind.
I'm going to refresh my feed and see if that brings it up to more of the time that we're all watching.
I think those laterals are helping you out. Going off the starboard box. Just pushing all the vertical thrust down. Picked up another 4. Yeah, but Argus hasn't moved yet. Argus hasn't felt that, it's just now starting to. Yeah, just could be, makes sense. Pushes it, diverts back. But this one is just from the lateral, I think, so far. It's crazy. Yeah. Could be a choppy recovery. I think it's a prime time to test it out, yeah, because it's like, well, can we do it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that was some type of jelly.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
actually
so.
also watching. I'm watching the Argus cam.
Oh, and seeing what's going by there too.
Yeah, I finally clued in on. Oh, I have 2 cameras that I could watch.
Yeah, and sometimes you get stuff that goes by there that you totally don't see on the forward-facing Herc cam.
Provide a little bit more of a wake so you can see them for a long of time. Seems almost that way. Although it's sort of it's bobbing up and down. So it's like a little
Yeah.
bit of seasickness going on here. Potential for seasickness. That looks like a fish in the Argus cam. Maybe a lanternfish. Unless we're too shallow for that now. Or
Oh
almost,
no, we
we're
can still
at,
see them down at this depth. Yeah.
okay,
They'd
so
be
we're at
around here.
400 meters right now.
I was seeing some in the forward-facing camera starting at about 600 meters. I haven't seen them in a couple minutes, but that just may mean I'm not seeing them. But I'd expect them all the way up to maybe 200 right now.
Yeah, so they're sort of the shape like your index finger.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh. Seeing also some pyrosomes.
So the way the currents got us is that we maybe end up on the starboard side a little bit, just slightly. So my plan is normally what we do is we hold position at the surface and I can step over, or we could keep streaming or slow speed or just keep streaming forward, and I could adjust the bearing to get you over on the port side easier. Either way, accomplish the same thing. Okay. I just mean when we surface, if you want me to hold or keep going. Sounds good. Yeah, otherwise it gets a lot of tension on that. Yeah, as we saw in the dead vehicle recovery, it's good on the tether. Everything else went smoothly, but you can just see that yank. Bridge
There's
nav.
some jellies swimming around in the Hercule. Yeah, a couple more.
Grease, carry tanks, enable air tuggers, and have the captain on the bridge. Thank you.
These little white discs.
I think the little white discs are the Solenissima jellies. They're a really common
great.
deep water species.
How do you pronounce the name? I read up on it, but what are they? Solissima?
I think it's Solenissima. I will double check.
Solenissima. Maybe Taylor Ann got it. Oh no.
Let's see. I happen to have the Solmissus. That's what it is. SOLMISSUS.
Okay, Solimicus. Got it. Thank you. You know, I don't know if I can watch from the Argus view for much long. It is making me feel a little queasy. You have to turn it off. I am not one to even play video games. I get pretty easily seasick. I'm surprised. Well, if I can go out on a ship, but the first day I have to take seasickness medication just to get my sea legs, and then I'm okay. But I've been known to get seasick already in the harbor. And I, for a while, thought that I was not going to become a marine biologist because of it.
My wife gets seasick walking down the dock.
I know the feeling. Tell her I am a kindred spirit. But I found the right kind of seasickness medication. It's Marazine, and it works for me. It doesn't make me sleepy. It's just the right amount, and I just need it for the first day, and then I'm good to go.
I'm very lucky in that it has to be just incredibly rough for me to feel queasy at all. I was joking with my husband that in order to really get the full, you know, ship from home experience, I should watch the Argus cam in my rolling office chair.
Yes, well, go for it. I'm definitely feeling it watching the Argus cam now.
I'm getting queasy just listening to you two.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on this rocking ship, facing forward, looking at cameras that are facing backwards.
Cameras with a delay
and cameras
too.
facing down.
Slight delay.
And now I'm thinking about it.
We'll stop talking about it.
Oh, that's fine.
We're taking, we're going up and down a meter each way out here. We're going to be a wild recovery.
I will ask, so when you get off the ship, do you have, when you're in small spaces, like taking a shower, do you feel the room, or when you put your head down on the pillow, do you feel
Yes.
the room just sort of moving? Yeah. It takes a while to shake that.
Last year when I came back from the express cruise, it took me 5 weeks before that completely stopped.
Wow.
Cal State Consortium, the Yellowfin, and a friend of mine, she was also the cook, and we signed up for a summer long of being deckhand and the cook. And I would watch her. So we did the first shift where she was the cook and I was the deckhand, and I was on 6 on 6 off watches. And she was watching me thinking like, how is she doing that? You know, getting up at midnight and working to 6. And I would watch her while she was cooking and thinking, how is she doing that? So after our first shift, our first 2 weeks, and then we were going to switch, we both looked at each other and said, do you want to continue what you're doing? And so luckily I continued being deckhand and she continued being the cook. So, and it would be after those, you know, months or weeks being on the ship and coming back home for a sort of a short shoreside, you know, I'd put my head down on the pillow and the room just would be rocking back and forth.
Getting into the pyrosome layer.
Yes. Lots of them. We're now at 230 meters.